Hey, you guys, let's get started because we don't have all day. Um, for those of you that are just tuning in, or for the first time, thanks for being here. I am Mary Jo Irmen, and I am the author of the book Life Without the Bank and Farming Without the Bank. The author of the books, I guess I should use correct English grammar. And I teach the infinite banking concept, which is the Becoming Your Own Banker book written by R. Nelson Nash. So that is what we are here today talking about, what I went over with clients this week. And so let me get to those. Since I was trying to do something else, I got it off my screen. So let's get started. I had a few prospective client meetings this week, but a lot of them I had some existing clients. I had some people I've talked to before that we keep running strategies. So I had a wide range of stuff this week. And I had people, again, I keep getting more people that are not farmers because of Life Without the Bank. So it's good. I have a mixture and I'm learning stuff and I love it. Okay, so I had a young couple that obviously they scheduled the meeting a week ago probably, or 2 weeks ago. And things were grand. And she found out last Thursday, I believe, that she got laid off from her job. So she has no job, which then puts us in a position of, or me at least, of saying, whoa, hold the horse. You guys have some money in savings. And they just had a baby, 2-month-old baby. And so we just had a baby. We lost our job. We're down to one income. We just bought a house last year and a little bit of acreage. We have some cows. So we need to make sure that we are being conservative. And we should probably hold off until she decides if she's going to start a business, if she decides that she's going to go get another job, whatever that decision is. I just feel like if we do something, it needs to be really, really small, or we just need to postpone and we just need to wait. So they were, that was a good conversation. Here's the big thing out of that one is he has been at his job a year. So now, the great 401k match can sweep in and take him away to retirement. Well, guess what? He was like, yeah, I could give a 4% match, and I was going to. However, now that she lost her job, I just don't think that I should, and all this good stuff. And I said, well, I thought you wanted to buy land. I thought you wanted to buy more cattle. You're telling me that you can buy cows and sell cows. And so if you know people buying and if you can buy low and sell high, is your 4% better used for that? And he's already talking about not wanting to stay at this job forever. And so if you don't want to stay at the job forever because other people are quitting for the same reasons already, they can't retain employees, why would you even start contributing? Because everything you contribute, you can basically count 10% of it gone. Because if you need it, you're going to have to pay the penalty. So what's the point? And he had not thought of that. Because not only was he a life insurance agent for 5 months, so he had some knowledge, but he was also a Dave Ramsey follower. And so they're very smart with their money, and they have money in savings, and they don't have a lot of debt, and they're being smart about things. But again, never taught cash flow, never taught to think that way. And so why would we be putting money into a system that we know we are most likely going to end up drying out of because there are other things we can do with it? So there was that. Then we had, I had a family, so mom and dad and the 3 kids, they have a dairy operation. And so this was a fun meeting because not all the kids read the book, but one child and mom read the book. But one of the kids, all of the kids really are thinking about coming back and at least helping on the dairy. Sounds like the son will probably take it over. But the girls will either be investors or they will help on the weekends or they will help on their days off when they can help, but they all want to be involved in some way. Not sure really what that way is yet because one of them is still in college. So it was really a matter of them just trying to figure out sort of a transition plan because they want to transition out in 10 years. So dad said, do we start that now? It's never too early to start a transition plan. Let the kids know what that is. It doesn't mean that because we plan today, we have to keep that plan, right? That plan can change all the time. Most people are going to meet, or most people should meet yearly, and then they can talk about how that plan is going to change. But if all three of the kids are in there, we really need to constantly be talking about what does that look like. But they do not have any insurance on the son. So they need to have some insurance on the son. Mom is really tired of the fact that this is now, I think she said, the fifth time that farm has been bought because they are the fifth generation. And so if we've bought it 5 times, she's like, I'm done. I am done selling this farm. And now they're looking at, they may never get out of the banking system themselves. But if we buy, because they're only in their 50s, if we buy as much life insurance on them as we can, now they're going to leave, I think it was a 46-cent dollar. So they're going to buy every dollar a death benefit for 46 cents. All that death benefit is going to go to their heirs income tax free. That is going to give the kids an opportunity to expand and maybe bring all 3 of them in. Where only one of them or 2 of them are going to be able to do anything, at some point all 3 can come in. And then what? Then the grandkids will get the death benefit of the kids. And so we just keep it going. So it was a fun meeting. They have not a lot of debt. They're doing okay. It's just a matter of their accountant, their bookkeeper was not doing a very good job. And so she just took over the bookkeeping and she's learning a lot of that themselves because this person wasn't keeping it timely. And they hadn't really looked at what are our expenses. What are we making money? Are we not making money? Where is it going? They got some PPP money. And I said, well, did you need the PPP money? Is it PPP, PPE, whatever. So I said, did you need it? Well, we maybe would have broke even, she said. I said, well, if you maybe would have broke even, where is it? Like, if you use that to pay bills, then the income coming in should be in the account. If it would have been close, right, to not needing it. So where is that money? And they didn't know because their books hadn't been kept correctly. No fault really of their own. Having to manage other people that you hire to do something stinks, but sometimes we have to do that. And so that's just about being an honest banker. And then they use quite a bit of cash for operating, and they use a lot of cash to do other things. And so is that going to be paid back? So it was a good conversation. And we walked away with a lot of strategies, and they can start. It's just a matter of where they're going to feel comfortable. But again, in this situation, if that's the goal, is to make sure that the son doesn't have to buy it, or that we just don't have to buy a sister out, estate planning and life insurance better be involved. Okay, I had another client that he is a real estate broker. Oh, here, let me see what Stasha says. Stasha, if mom and dad aren't going to do anything, you can't do anything except protect yourself and go to plan B, which would be you buying life insurance on them. If they do not agree to have life insurance bought on them, the writing's on the wall. Okay? You just have to buy life insurance on yourself, and you better plan for worst case scenario to be buying somebody out. Or you go do your own thing because they won't plan. I have had several clients who have completely left the family operation because mom and dad won't estate plan. They won't put anything in writing. They're too chicken to talk to the other kids and make sure that these other kids know exactly what's going to happen. So you can't make somebody do something. They have to be ready to hear it. And it doesn't even matter. In the farming world, blows me away. It doesn't matter how shitty it was for them. They're just going to repeat the same cycle. Most of them don't learn from it. And so you got to protect yourself as best you can. This guy was a real estate investor, so he had lots of rental properties, and then he was also a real estate broker. And so he has agents working underneath him. His son is his property manager and is transitioning over to be a agent underneath him and manage on his own. So now he hires his son to he subcontracts to his son to manage the property. And he found out about the concept from a friend of his who's an agent. I had 2 of these this week. And this friend said, well, you're too old to buy life insurance on yourself. Too old? He's 55 years old. Too old? Oh, for God's sake. So I'm like, no, you're not too old. Oh, he said it's going to be too expensive. Too expensive? I said, so you could do like $20,000 a premium a year. He's like, I was thinking 40. You wanted, and that's what I told my friend. You want to do $40,000 a premium a year at 55 years old, and your friend said you're too old? What? What? Your friend should not be telling you about this concept because he doesn't know anything. Okay, now this is where the shirt comes in today. Come on. Ugh. You all know this just gets my goat. And then he says, so $40,000 is a lot of money. And that is a great place to start. He could have started in a great place at $20,000 for a 55-year-old. And then he was told by this same person that he has no insurable interest now in his son because he is now subcontracting to his son. I said, who's taking over the brokerage if you pass away? Well, my son. What do you mean you have no insurable interest in him? Absolutely you have insurable interest in him. He's taken over your brokerage. He's still your son. We still have insurable interest. You also have insurable interest in the guy you are flipping houses with because he is financially buying the house. You are physically fixing it. You both have insurable interest in each other. He is your money man. If something happens to him, you're not flipping any houses because you don't have anybody else to go find money from. He can start a policy, and it'll be a great policy. And his kids can have a policy on him because he could also own part of his son's business because he gave his son a home inspection business. Gave it to him because he's not a good banker yet. He's well on his way. So I said, why didn't you own or finance him? If you own or finance him, you have insurable interest in him. He took your business. Don't be giving your stuff away. I don't care if it's the farm. Don't be giving the farm away. Yes, you can sell the farm to the kids while you're alive. It's okay for them to buy it from you. But why would you give somebody something? If his son pays him for the business, when he dies, does he not get some of that money back? Because it's going to be part of his estate. Who cares if you have to buy a farm for mom and dad if you are part of the estate? Who cares if you have to buy rental properties or a business or whatever for mom and dad? Give them 10% interest on money they lend you. Who cares? It all goes back into your estate that you are most likely going to inherit. Okay? But don't be listening to agents who don't know what they're talking about. And thank goodness that this guy was smart enough to read my book, read Nelson's book. He educated himself. I think he read 3 of them. He educated himself and knew that this guy was not giving him the correct answers. I had another young kid this week. Started farming. When he was 16 years old, he started crop sharing with a neighbor. Not even his dad, with a neighbor. He is like 23, I think. He's pretty young. 20, 25, 24. Whatever. He's pretty young. Super, super smart young man. He asks lots of questions. He's read the book. He's listened to all the podcasts. Like, he tunes in. He understands the concept. Read Nelson's book. Of course, nobody else reads it. Not even the agent that gave him the Farming Without the Bank book. So once again, all these lovely agents are out there buying my book and dispersing it so they can sell life insurance, and then they do it wrong. And so he has a policy that he doesn't really know how the premium's paid. It's a good whole life policy from a mutual company, but the agent's not telling him anything. When he asks questions, they don't answer. When he asks them if they're certified, they said, "Why should I get certified? I know what she's doing. I've read her book and I've listened to her podcasts." Well, if you've listened to my podcast and you've read my book, then why did you do what you did for him, and why can't you answer your questions? Tell me that, Mr. Agent. So we're going to give him a paid up at 65 policy when he's 20 some years old? Why would we do that? I don't get these, like, I will do a 10-pay policy, or I will do those in very certain circumstances. However, when you are in your 20s and you are healthy, why in God's creation would I do a paid up at 65? Only because I do not understand the infinite banking concept, and I do not understand everything that's going on, because I only listen to Mary Jo to figure out how to structure a policy so I can go sell something and make commission. And then I'm not going to help the client afterwards. Just done. Just done. They don't have any ideas of what to do. So this agent comes back and says, no, you need to do $20,000 a year in premium. Does not show him an illustration. Does not explain anything to him. And I said, why are you doing $20,000 of premium on yourself? Has he not asked you to do a policy on your dad? Because when your mom and dad die, if you need to buy out a sibling, which they will, why don't you have a policy on your dad? Oh, because guess what? The agent didn't ask him any of the questions I asked him, which is, what the hell is going on? What are we doing in your world? Who are you farming with? What does that look like? What do you own with people? What happens if? Right? Because now he also owns a tractor with a brother. Well, he now has insurable interest in the brother. So if at some point they both get married, we better have protected ourselves now from spouses that may not get along later. If everybody's happy and we are the Brady Bunch later, fantastic. Nobody will care. But they're going to care later if we're not getting along trying to buy life insurance then. None of this was discussed. Where he wants to go in the future, what he wants to buy, what he wants to do, none of that was discussed with the other agent. Just, hey, you should buy a $20,000 life insurance policy on yourself. And guess what he said? Mary Jo, that's a little bit high and uncomfortable. Well, I could imagine it probably would be. So let's just go slower. I don't care where you start. Start where it's comfortable. If you're going to do something on dad, we're going to have to go a little bit higher. We're going to have to do about 12 a year, but we surely don't need to do 20 if that's not comfortable. But for heaven's sakes, we need to address what's going on in the family, what's going to go on in the future. We're not here for today to make commission. Oh. What's fun about this kid is that he is crop sharing. And this is, so many people say, well, Mary Jo, I'm young. How do I get into this? This kid is crop sharing with neighbors, not even his dad, okay? He's crop sharing with neighbors, so he doesn't have to have all the burden. He is buying equipment with his brother. Again, he doesn't have to have all the burden. And he's been doing this since he's 16. He knows his numbers. He reads, he educates. He's running it like a business and has been since he's been 16. And his dad is asking him questions, right? Because who knows who this crazy lady from the internet is. And so his dad is asking him questions. He's like, Dad, you just got to read the book. Right? So his dad had some questions that I am not going to answer for Dad. Dad said, well, ask her this. Well, Dad, you should have been in the meeting then, and you should have read the book. And the kid got that because he listens to all my stuff. And I preach it, right? And so you need to read the book. You need to participate in what he's doing because he's a smart kid. Kudos to Mom and Dad for raising a smart kid. So let me see what else on him. That's all that I had on him. But the biggest thing was that he has 2 other policies. They're not going to be, they're good, but they're not going to be spectacular up front because they were not structured correctly. Okay. Had another guy that is a young farmer. Well, he's not a farmer. He wants to have some cows, but he is not yet. He and his wife just have, she's a realtor. He has a job, and they want to buy some land. They want to have some cows. They want to have some rental properties. This was fun. They have ATM machines. You guys, so here's, I don't use ATM machines. I know how. I've seen people do it. I don't know my PIN numbers. Like, I don't use them. So I never thought of the fact that, like, they're privately owned. I thought that the banks owned them. I didn't know that people could own an ATM. And then when you go to the ATM, every time I use the ATM, I pay her a fee to have the ATM there. Never even crossed my mind. And so that was interesting, how she gets paid to have these ATMs. So if y'all are looking for some cash flow options, and they are in a tiny little town. And so if you all are looking for some cash flow options, try ATMs. He said the biggest challenge is just getting a store to allow you to have an ATM there, or finding one that doesn't have an ATM. And I would assume that for some people it's a risk factor. But this was interesting too, because he said that when they first started, she started with maybe $5,000 in the ATM. So she was having to fill it every single day because it was out every single day. But that's all she had. So now she has more money in the ATM than that. But, she just gradually worked up to there. I just never thought about it. So for them, we can start something. Again, they're in their 20s, so it's going to be smaller. Maybe $6,000 a year, something like that, just to get started and be comfortable, and all that good stuff. So definitely something there. Neither one of them obviously have any kind of 401k. They do have some personal stuff on the outside, but, they weren't contributing or anything like that anymore either. Okay, that is what I had for just prospective clients this week. And then I met with 2 existing clients that had the exact same question, which was answered in today's podcast, if you listen to that. And so that is just us getting our head around, what does it mean to pay myself back? Like, Mary Jo, I used cash. What do you mean I have to pay myself back? How do I do that? Meaning, How do I figure out how long I want to do that? What is the interest rate I should charge? And this is really like it's funny, it's funny, not haha funny, but funny that we don't think about what it's like to be in charge, because we're so used to being told this is the interest rate, these are your options for terms of payback, this is your payment amount. Like, it's like deer in the headlight, right? Well, what do we do now? We're in charge. You can do whatever you want. That's the glory of this. You get to do what you want. So you get to make those decisions. And so we get stuck in but it's my money, so I'm paying myself? That doesn't make sense. Why would I do that? Okay, think of yourself. If you had money, and in this situation, there was some 401k money. Okay, so we took 401k money and paid farm debt off with it. Well, if that's the case, then the farm owes the bank of Johnny. Okay, if John took his 401k money, then he now becomes the bank, because the 401k, think of it as your bank. You put your little banker hat on and say, okay, Mr. Farm, what are you going to pay me for terms to pay this back? And you have a meeting with yourself. If you have to sit behind a desk, you do that. But think of it then not as paying yourself back. And that's what my one client said, is he said it was a lot easier for me when I just thought of it as, I forget what term he used. I don't remember. But it wasn't paying himself back. Paying the bank of Johnny, right? I said, you just think of your wife as the banker and you need to ask her for the money. And then she was confused as, how do I set it up and where do I put it? And I said, you put it in QuickBooks. You run an amortization schedule so you can go online and find them anywhere. If you're a client, we will help you. You can go online, find a free amortization calculator anywhere. You run that. If the payment looks like you can afford it, great. Those are your terms. Now you take that payment amount and you put it in QuickBooks that say, I owe the Bank of Johnny. Bank of Johnny is going to get paid back yearly for X amount of years, X amount of rate, and you make the payment. And he said, well, do I put that on my balance sheet when I go to the bank? You can. If the bank is not, I don't know how the bank's going to look at that. Some people will, some people may not. Right? I don't care if it's on with the bank. All I care is that you have it on your sheet so you know, okay, I can't buy something else because I'm still paying myself back for this. Because it's an actual loan. Okay, so that trips us up sometimes. But since I had 2 of those this week, that was an important conversation to have, I thought. And then I had another one that just was thinking, we should have some insurance on mom. Estate plan does not look like it's going as it should. And so we just want to protect ourselves. What does that look like? And so we talked about some of those numbers. And then I met with a young lady that I had met with a couple times. She was not ready to start a policy. And then she was looking at buying a business. And then we looked at buying a different business. And I just helped her run some of those strategies and what that would look like. And now she bought a business, which is awesome. And I got a virtual tour of the business, which was super fun. And so she called and said, okay, I'm ready. I want to get some term, or I want to get some life insurance, and the bank wants it as an assignment for her loan with the bank. And I was like, nope, we need to talk. Because I thought she was going to buy whole life and put the bank's name on that. No. So she was thinking correctly, going to get some term insurance and put the bank's name on that. However, it's convertible term. So because she's young and she's most likely healthy, the bank only wanted $500,000. Well, why not do $1 million? Just because of the fact that if she wants to convert $500,000, she can then convert that to whole life, but still have her $500,000 a term left for the bank if that's what they need. And so if we're going to do it, we may as well do a little bit more so that when the store, because she's just taking it over like next week. So when the store is profitable, and she has some income coming in, we can start converting. And she is a go-getter, so I am expecting that she will probably need that conversion in 2-3 years. She's a lot of cleanup to do. A lot. But it's going to be awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited. Okay. That is what I had this week. In between some other stuff that wasn't worth sharing. If you guys have not, here's what I'm doing in my, what's coming up in my podcast is I will be reviewing on Farming Without the Bank. I will be reviewing Warehouse of Wealth. And so for all of you regulars that listen, grab Warehouse of Wealth if you have not gotten it. It is a fantastic book as well. But if you guys are new, go ahead, grab any one of these, and then you are free to make an appointment with me. And I don't know how far out I'm booked, maybe a week. Not very far. So you can go ahead, book your appointment, and then we will go over all things needed to talk about, not just, oh, hey, in 5 minutes, let me sell you something so I can make commission. Nope, that's not how it works here. And if I have people that I will cancel their meeting. If you cannot be on your computer, I'm sorry, but we will have to reschedule until you can be in front of a computer. It is very important that you can see what I'm drawing, what I'm talking about, because you're going to have it till you're dead. And so I want to make sure that you understand what it is you're buying. Okay, you guys, that is what I had for today. If you need anything, you can message me here. You can email me at maryjowithoutthebank. If you have podcast ideas, let me know. And looks like I'm going to be in Louisiana in February. So that's exciting. I'll be speaking down there. We'll see if I drive or fly. Nobody knows yet. Okay, you guys, have a great weekend, and I will talk to you next week, possibly. We are moving to our new property the end of next week and the following week, so I may not be on for the next 2 weeks, but believe me, I'll have lots to talk about when I get back. All right, talk to you guys later.